Hey folks, how's it going? My name is Lexi and I really love tabletop role-playing games. So much so that we sit down together once a week, every week, and we review one here at the gaming table. I try to keep these videos on the shorter side, in between 5 to 10 minutes, so we can both find our next game. If that sounds interesting to you, I encourage you to subscribe and keep watching. If you would like to do something super special and helpful to the channel, there is a link in the description box below to my Ko-Fi page where you can make a donation to the channel. All donations go straight back into the running costs of the channel, so it is deeply appreciated. I also put a little thank you at the end of my video to acknowledge everyone who's donated in the previous month. So if you do choose to donate, please let me know if there's a way I can pop your name down or a moniker, or if you don't want to be mentioned at all. I totally understand either way. Of course, you don't have to make a donation. I appreciate having you all here with me and discussing something I love, games. Today, we are taking a look at a game that I kind of purchased a little bit blindly. I live in a city that doesn't have a wide variety of tabletop shops, so I'm very used to selecting a game based on vibes and hoping that it's going to be a good fit for me and my friends. So that's what I did with today's game. So join me as we review together the Magical Land of Yeld, 2nd edition from Yeld Stuff. The world of Yeld is a fantastical place. It's filled with unusual creatures, beings, stories, and wondrous sights. It's also a place under duress. The kingdom of Yeld is being ruled by a vampire king who overturned the royal family and rules through his 7 generals. Most of the people of Yeld are trying to get by as best they can, in a kingdom where they know their local government doesn't really care about them. A while ago, not long after the vampire king Dragul came to power, a while ago in the history of Yeld, there was a resistance to the rule of the vampire king Dragul. This was led by the Kingdom of Yeld's princess, who was usurped on the night of her father's death. Dragul offered to marry her, and when she said no, he didn't take it well. This princess hasn't been seen for many years though, and the resistance might appear in your game, or it might be quietly bubbling in the background. The players in this game take on the role of friends. These are humans who are visiting Yeld from our world. They are experiencing the wonder and the majesty of this strange land. There's lots of different intelligent beings who reside in Yeld. There's the king's people, who are humanoid but with some interesting ears. There's fairies, animal tribes, mermaids, goblins, toothfaces, vampires, squid folk, and priats, among more. There's different regions of the Kingdom of Yeld to explore, and different groups and different cultures that exist in them. Friends travel through these different regions, completing tasks asked of them by the locals to help them out and to do some good. If you are running a game of Yeld and you are not sure what you want to include, there's plenty of little story prompts. There's a full campaign for the game in the back of the book, but there's also some interesting sites that you can choose to include in a game. There's a table for wondrous sights of Yeld, which I really loved. There were some fascinating and unique little things in there. There also are different holidays of Yeld that you might want to center a session on, and different services and the people you could encounter. I mentioned briefly that there is a pre-written campaign, and I think it's pretty excellent. Even if you don't want to run a full pre-written campaign, I would definitely be tempted to lift parts from it for my own game. I'm now going to give a detail about Yeld that I think is important, but is probably potentially a spoiler if you're planning to play the game. So if you don't want to be spoiled, put a time code to where you can skip to. Initially, the player characters, the friends, can come and go from Yeld as they please through a magical door. At some point though, they'll come back to the door to go home and find it is locked with 7 locks. These characters are now trapped in Yeld. They then have to go find the 7 keys that belong to these locks, who happen to of course be held by King Dragul's cronies. It's really important for the friends to leave Yeld before they get too old. If you get too old in Yeld, you're stuck there permanently, turned into a monster. The Magical Land of Yeld is played using d6s. Depending on what kind of score a friend character has in a relevant attribute, that will tell the player how many d6s they need to roll. The 4 attributes in this game are strong, brave, tough, and smart. Depending on the kind of character you have, your friend, they might be able to roll some additional dice with that base attribute. Or they might have a useful item with them that gives them a bit of a boost. Generally, the higher the results on the dice, the better your friend character did. To start building a friend, you have to look through a variety of archetypes. This kind of tells you not only their personality, but gives you a couple of mechanical benefits in small technical scenario. Not only does the archetype of your friend tell you what kind of person they are, but it also gives you a unique mechanical advantage. It's generally suggested that a group of friends avoids doubling up if possible. Bunch of different archetypes to choose from. There's ones like the big sister, the rival, the princess, and even a 4-footed friend, the dog. These archetypes can eventually be layered with jobs. I won't reveal too much about them, but they can give your characters some unique and interesting ability. For fighting in Yeld as a mechanical experience, generally uses the tough dice. And if your character has a useful item like a weapon, that will provide additional dice that they can roll in that scenario. One thing I liked about the combat section in this game manual is it reminds you that a combat doesn't have to end with the death of the adversary. In this game, generally they're called a monster. A combat could end with some form of reconciliation, running away, or even becoming friends. There's potential options for lots of different story paths. Of course, as this game has magic, there is the option for players to cast spells. Casting spells generally requires the friend to be holding either a spell scroll or a spell book, and then to roll their smart dice. Generally, to know if you've been successful, you'll add the results of the dice together and compare them to a challenge number. Now, with magic, there is the chance for mishaps to happen, so there's a fun little section in the manual for different ways the spells can backfire. I do really love that there's lots of different types of magic in the game. There's white magic, black magic, magic for mermaids, and then there's goat magic. That one in particular was quite a giggle to read through. I really love the quirky art style of the Magical Land of Yeld. I loved learning about the different creatures and different services that exist in the land. There's a giant bunny transport service and a postage service as well. The art style is a little bit reminiscent of Adventure Time, but it's definitely got its own unique flavour. The art style is what initially drew me to the game, but I've come to appreciate so much about it. I mean, I loved finding out there were priats in the game. They were an experiment gone wrong, kind of. They were meant to just be brainless lackeys, and no one expected them to get so smart or so independent. As someone who loves rats, I know how smart and independent they can be. An interesting detail about running the game of Yeld is this game is designed that the game master can swap among the players. So you might have a friend character go off screen for a bit. I know that might be a bit tricky for some groups who are used to having one person running the game, but I think this manual makes the game pretty approachable, and I think it would be fun to at least try having different people run the game. It might perhaps be easiest to do that with the pre-written campaign. I think this game is going to really appeal to people who not only love their quirky fantasy, but are there for a little bit of stories of friendship and daring do. While there's dark times in the world of Yeld, hopefully these adventurers can band together and maybe save it from the darkness of the vampire King Dragul. Or at least defeat some of his generals. I think the easiest way for someone in the US to get a copy of this game would be to go on the website Yeld Stuff, where it retails for around $60 US. Unfortunately, the shipping was a little bit prohibitive for me to get it from there. I ended up getting a second-hand copy online because no Australian retailer had it in stock at the time when I found out about it. My second-hand copy was advertised as having a bit of damage to the front corner, but the inside being pristine, and yeah, that was exactly what I got. So that is the Magical Land of Yeld 2nd edition. What do you think? Do you think your group would be open to rotating game masters? Let me know what you think of that in the comments down below, or just your general thoughts. While you're there, you can like this video and maybe even share it with a friend who you think might get some enjoyment out of it or find it interesting. If you want to keep up with the gaming table, you can subscribe and turn on notifications. That way, YouTube is supposed to tell you when I'm next uploading a video. If you would like to go the extra special mile for the channel, you can go to my Ko-Fi page, which is linked in the description box below, and make a small donation to the channel if you want to. If you decide to donate, please let me know how you would like to be acknowledged, because I like to put a short thank you at the end of my videos. Of course, please don't feel obliged to donate. I really appreciate having you all with me discussing something I love, tabletop role-playing games. I want to thank you all again for discussing the Magical Land of Yeld. I hope you're all well. I want to thank you all again for discussing the Magical Land of Yeld with me. I want to thank you all again for discussing the Magical Land of Yeld 2nd edition with me. I hope you're all well, and I look forward to seeing you next time at the gaming table. Bye!